Smith, and I'm the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, and I'm also part of the Resiliency team. And I want to welcome you to our first ever Resiliency Share the Spotlight video. And the aim of these videos is to really just help everyone here at the 138th have their voice be heard. And we want to talk all things resiliency. So just as a reminder, when we talk resiliency, we're not really talking about arriving somewhere, but resiliency is really more about the ability to push through adversity or challenges. And so today, for this quarter, we're going to be talking about how we build positive connections to one another, and how developing our support systems really helps us become resilient when we do face challenges. So today we have Major Underwood. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about who you are, both when you're here at the 138th and when you're at home?
Sure. So I am the Director of Personnel in the 138th Force Support Squadron. I've actually only been in the position since June, so I was one of those that right in the middle of COVID got a new job in a new environment. But before that, I was in operations, and I've been here at Tulsa since 2015. So active duty before, but then left active duty and joined the Guard to be closer to family. That being said, so full-time mom as well. I've got two sons, a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old. And then of course I've been married for over 10 years now. So we got a nice little piece of property out in the country, which has been really nice being close to family and kind of close to friends back here in Oklahoma. But looking forward to, again, continuing my Tulsa time here. It's been a great transition. So I'm looking forward to see what else Tulsa has to offer me.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you've had a lot of change in this last year,
yes.
Right? On top of everything else. So I'm just curious, how do you feel like you're holding up at kind of almost a whole year of social distancing, of dealing with the pandemic, had some job changes as well, lots going on for you. So how do you feel like you're doing?
You know, I'm doing much better now than I thought that I was going to be doing if you would have asked me 6 months ago. Just because it was a lot. Everything from the virtual school with my sons to my spouse being a full-time teleworker to me being on teleworking. So it was a lot. And there was a little bit of fear too at the beginning that I feel like I've been able to get not necessarily over now, but understand a little bit more now. There were a lot of unknowns, and me being me, there are certain things that I really like to control. I want to be in charge of whatever the situation is, whether it's at work or it's at home. So, but I've been able to kind of, re-engage, both here at work with my coworkers and my peers and my family, my friends at home. So really, I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling a lot more positive, and I've been able to kind of handle that stress a lot better now than I was when all of this started. So yeah, feeling good.
So it sounds like for you, it's been more of a process.
It's been a process.
Dealing
Yes.
with it's not just been one change, but it's really been it sounds like all areas for you. You had to deal with change all at once, and change is not always easy.
No, no, and that, it was one of those that I felt like it challenged me on a personal and professional level. I mean, just like it did for everyone. Obviously, no one could expect that we were gonna be in this situation. And so it took a lot of kind of some inner reflection on how I handled the 9 to 5 or the 6 to 6 if you're working at the 135 week. But just working with my family and my peers to have that work-life balance. We always talk about the work-life balance, and this really kind of threw me and everyone I know for a loop. But through my faith, through my kind of perseverance, and really the support of those around me, whether it was in person or in Zoom and Facebook. I mean, we made it work. We laughed that flexibility is the key to air power. Flexibility is the key to COVID. And so it was just knowing like, hey, this is the perfect time and place to not have a plan. I didn't have to have it all written out and buy a checklist and and to have that ultimate control, that it was okay to find the peace in the chaos. That's way to put it.
Yeah, so that sounds to me that sounds like some great examples of growth, and also great examples of how you were able to still connect with people.
Oh yeah.
So one thing we know for sure is people need people, right? Like humans are designed for relationship. So what I mean by being designed for a relationship is we have to have one another to thrive. Like research tells us that, experience tells us that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm curious how your normal ways of relating and having connections were really challenged during this.
So anyone that knows me knows that I am an extrovert. I will self-proclaim that any day of the week. And whether it's, going out to lunch during the week or going out at night with my girlfriends to the family getaways, like I love to be out and I love to be involved. And it has really been upsetting. And it was upsetting there for a while, just having to cancel everything from, the kids' birthday parties to, the big night outs that my husband and I would have with our friends, and kind of learning to seek those relationships out in a better way. That was positive for me and for others. But yeah, it's been, I laugh. I probably have sent more pictures of food to my girlfriends than we've actually been able to have food in person. But it works. We have just found a new normal. The weekly Zoom meetings, or just the Facebook groups that we have, and of course becoming just closer with my neighbors. Even I'm a horrendous baker, but I've decided that I need to start baking all of a sudden, and I have been leaving baked goods where I can for my neighbors that have been in quarantine or for my friends, and it's been really good because it's kept me busy and it's kind of gotten me out of any rut that I could be in, but also kind of helped me form new relationships and solidify those that I needed to have to kind of get through this past year.
Yeah, so a lot of adapting.
Yes.
It sounds like a lot of actually learning and having new opportunities, because I don't know that you necessarily would have gone and taken your neighbor's baked goods if they weren't quarantined.
Probably not, but that's, it's just one of those that I let myself probably before get really focused into me, what I was doing at work or what my family was doing. And we had that schedule and we had everything planned out, and then the world showed up and was like, just kidding, here's COVID. So all of a sudden the schedule went out the window and it was like, I need to adapt. I need to pick up something different. And it's kind of been the silver lining to it all, really. And there are a lot of things I've done this past year that I wouldn't have gotten to do that I have been very, very thankful for. And yes, I have discovered that I was not designed to be a homeschool teacher. And that has truly tested me. But even this time with my kids, I don't really get it a lot with my job. And it was a true blessing in disguise. So can't really complain. That's awesome.
So it sounds like your normal way of relating to people was just not going to be realistic for you this year. So what are some of the ways that you have found helpful to adapt and still maintain your social connections?
So I think whenever people think about social connections, they automatically want to think of it's going out. It's the gatherings, the get-togethers, the state fair. We have so much that we have scheduled and planned throughout the year that we consider gatherings, and especially with the holidays. Recently, obviously, that's kind of been the forefront on everyone's mind, but I think it's just kind of changing priorities. And my priorities this year have really changed to kind of my personal growth on what I can do to either take a step back and kind of, re-engage, give myself that mental, spiritual, emotional strength that I need. And then also for my family. Yes, I may not get to see my grandparents as much as I want, but I get to see my kids more now than I ever have before. And same with my girlfriends. There for a while, yes, it was, hey, let's plan a time out. It's, it's so-and-so's birthday or it's so-and-so's event. But now that we have, these weekly get-togethers on Zoom or on Facebook Live, I actually think that we see each other more and that our communication is a little bit more real now than it ever has before. So in a weird way, I'm still social, but it's just a shifting gears. It's a change of priority. So really it's worked out well because I like being involved. I like being around others, but it's that ability to just listen and talk to people that I really crave. It's building those solid relationships and COVID has taken some, some degrees of that down, but I'd like to think that I will look back at this year and really be thankful for the opportunities that I got with family and friends that I wouldn't have been able to have otherwise. So really, it's kind of one of those that I have learned some lessons that I will probably carry with me from here on out. Whether it is just, continuing the weekly, brunch on Friday morning via Zoom, whatever it may be, that there have been some really good lessons learned with how I can still be social and, my extroverted dynamic self, but also keeping in mind just the environment that we're in. Same as if we were deployed or in Afghanistan, like, hey, you're in a different environment and you're not with your family and friends, but you make it work and you find ways to improve on those relationships and, and make best of where you're at.
Yeah, so even though it looks different, the need to still maintain those social networks and the connections, it didn't falter during COVID, right? I love that.
Yeah.
So you bring up a good point of things that you've learned. You've learned a lot of lessons. So I want to ask you, if you could go back to the beginning of 2020 and give yourself a piece of advice to help you cope, to help you stay connected, what would it be?
To remind myself that I don't have to be in control and I don't have to be in charge of everything. It was one of those that at the very beginning, again, you crave, or I crave knowledge, I crave information, just so that I know everything from point A to point Z, to be able to make a decision, to be able to be in charge. And that's just my personality, whether it was the nature of my job or just who I am, it was the need to be in control. And the same with, with my kids' school or my husband's job, it was knowing to make a decision and to be in charge. And there was absolutely no reason for me to be that way, especially this time. And I would tell myself at times, hey, be flexible, be understanding. Everyone is in a weird predicament. And sometimes you just need to step back and be a good listener. You don't always have to be the one that talks or is in charge or wants to, step up and make it right for everyone and everything. You really just need to take a step back, listen to those around you, accept what the situations are, and again, make the best of them. So, I think there were times that I stressed myself out unnecessarily. And looking back, it's like, hindsight 2020. Play on words. I would have done several things differently, and I think I wouldn't have beat myself up so bad. Everything from my son didn't do that Google Classroom assignment to I forgot to do that Google Classroom assignment. So there were some things that I didn't need to panic over that I did.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of us have been. Certainly, I've been hearing the term of. Nobody's at 100%. Like, nobody can be at 100% during a pandemic. So if you're 100% during the pandemic is the same as you're 100% not in a pandemic. Might be something a little off.
I'd like to know how you did that. Yes, because I just can't imagine.
Yeah, so that's very insightful, but that's been your experience as well. So one last question for you. So is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody watching? Any piece of advice, anything you've learned, anything at all?
I think just given it's this year, with the pandemic, with the climate and the environment that we're in, I think it's just being understanding of those around you and not being so quick to be the one that thinks that you know what's happening or that you have it all figured out or whatnot. And even that piece of me going back and telling myself, hey, you need to listen more. No matter who it is that's talking to you, whether it's your 4-year-old son, your husband, or your 24-year-old employee who is incredibly nervous and unsure of what to expect. I think it's taking the time to listen, to respect the concerns or fears or worries that others have, having the meaningful conversations with people, whether it's in person or via some FaceTime situation or text or a phone call, because we have truly, I think, understood the value of meaningful relationships, both in the workplace and out of it. And I think it's just reminding folks like, hey, it is one team and one fight. As much as we like to give a hard time to that cliche, it's true. And I think it's just realizing that that's true. And at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reasons. We're all going through the exact same problems. And that you may not only find support that you were looking for, even if you weren't realizing that you were looking for that support, but that you may be a good sounding board for someone else out there. And if you're getting too caught up or too concerned in what is over here in left field, you're going to completely miss what's all lying on the right side. So, yeah, be a listener, be a peer, and remember that we're all going to figure it out together, one step at a time. So.
Well, Major Underwood, thank you for making the time to share with us.
Yeah.
And thank you for just being really honest about what last year was like for you. It's always really great to hear people just share their honest experiences, and I think it helps all of us to feel less isolated, that we're not the only one out there trying to figure this one out. So I just appreciate you, and I thank you.
No, thank you. I'm really glad I got to do this.